Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. A $500 billion farm bill, which reports say 80% is relating to food stamps. $41 million spent to advertise the food stamp program, as record numbers are enrolled in the program every month. Southern California home prices post their biggest jump since 2004, making the question, are we creating another housing bubble? Maury, we talked about this off the air.
Always do.
I have a lot of friends in real estate, and I'm paying attention to the market. Things are changing very rapidly, and I almost feel like we're getting back to that early 2000s where we're creating this bubble again. You don't feel the same
No,
way?
I don't feel it. There are a number of reasons why I don't. First of all, right at the moment as we speak, interest rates are going up again, and those very delectable interest rates of 3% mortgage, they're gone right as we speak.
Now, it's at 4% now.
4%, yeah.
And going up.
Yeah, but I think the big change is the fact that you go back to the redlining and the fact that it started with Carter. Actually, it really started with Johnson, who wanted to do everything he could to bring the minorities back up to snuff with the white people who were getting all the goodies, and the people that were in the minorities were outsiders. So they put pressure on the banks and
Who passed the Fair Housing Act, by the way? What administration was that?
Well, that was under Carter, I believe. Carter, he may not have passed, they may have been laying there, but Carter activated it. And the fair housing meant that the banks, if you have a minority person coming in and you refuse the minority person, then you are racist. I mean, that's basically what it boiled down to. So the banks started to play the game of, listen, let's not get in trouble with the government.
They had no choice.
Well, they had no choice. The point is, so anybody who, even forget about the income statement, if there was no way that they were going to be able to repay those mortgages, they didn't care because they were more interested in pleasing the government. So they were selling houses to people that shouldn't have had it. But you had something even more in greater depth, and that is all the way back to the end of the Second War, when the GIs were coming back. The idea of having your house and bringing up a family in your own home became a big thing, and that went through the 40s
the
and 50s.
American dream.
The American dream. The house, owning a house, was the fulfillment of the American dream. The problem with that was, in those days, because there was, the greater fool theory, the demand for housing was strong, with a couple of little times in between. But by and large, you were almost assured that if you wanted to move or had to move, you could sell a house, you could flip it, and you could make money on it. And there was some assurance that you were never going to have something that was going to be less. It was always going to be more.
It was your greatest asset that you would ever have in your life.
For 90% of the people that own houses, that was the critical asset that they had. You're absolutely right. So what happened is, I say, we're not recreating that situation. I think one of the reasons that the housing is coming back, and it is first of all, you've got investors from all over the world now who want to buy into the United States. In some cases to have a second home, in other cases it's a damn good investment because the prices are cheap and the interest rates are low.
Canadians and Chinese tend
Canadians are the two biggest. You're absolutely correct. I don't think that's changing. I think that the average price of a home is still roughly about, if you put an average throughout the whole United States, it's still about 30% lower than it used to be, but it's come a long way. So, but a bubble would mean that we are going back to the same old, that suddenly everybody's going to go buy houses. What is not shown in the statistics that a lot of homes that are being built, or where they show the building of units, can be apartments in big cities that are actually, they're not condominiums, they're not owned, they're rented. Even in the smaller areas where they have individual homes, I would say a third, maybe 40%, are rented. Now you can go here in the Coachella Valley, a lot of the houses today, even the ones that are built on anticipation, are being rented and leased. It used to be, you didn't do that. Renting and leasing, that was for people who had nothing else going for them. Now, renting and leasing is done by people who say, wait a second, we may have to move someplace else to get a job. And if we move someplace else to get a job, we're going to have to sell our house. We may not even be able to get the money we put in. It's not. It's a total change of priorities and attitudes.
Well, and the fact that property taxes are so ridiculous,
Good.
I mean, it doesn't, if you paid your house off, you're still going to owe $400 or $500 a month in property taxes. I mean, it's ridiculous.
You really bring up some great points. You know, my wife and I lived in Chicago. We lived in a very great multi-story building, 65 stories. We bought the condominium. I bought it, frankly, for around $250,000. When we got out of there, we sold it for $900,000. But that was great. Well, but now I know people that still live in that building, and the tax, not only the property taxes, but the maintenance payments are 6 times what they were when we got out of there about 20 years ago.
And you're never getting away from that.
No.
You could own the condo or the home outright and still have a payment as big as some mortgage payments would be.
Oh, well,
based on
bigger.
HOAs and taxes.
Bigger, because if you're living in a high, in a high-rise apartment building, a luxury building in a luxury part of the city, you're going to pay more for parking, you're going to pay more for maintenance, they're going to have to redo things, and you're responsible for the whole building.
So growing up in Germany under the Nazi regime and living in Chicago, you pretty much know your way around the devil's basement, don't you?
Well, let's say I have had more than my share of interesting experiences. How's that?
Absolutely. Senator Ron Johnson came out with a report.
Great man.
He did a 30-year report over the entitlements of America, our obligations. And his number is somewhere between $106 trillion and $120 trillion over 30 years. Now, the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, and all these other accounting offices always do 10-year estimates. That's the first 30-year estimate that I've seen. That should scare most people. What do you think about that?
You know, we are shifting our whole basic outlook. And when these things happen, you're not aware they're happening because they're happening in such a way that it's like the water torture. You know, it's just little drip, drip, drip.
Chinese water torture.
Chinese water torture is exactly the point I was hoping to make, and you made it for me. Thank you. The point is what you've got now. Entitlements are like a hungry tiger that's eating anything that comes in its way. When you have 48 million, and maybe it's gone up even after that. That's
every month it's going up.
But you have double the number of people on food stamps that you had 4 or 5 years ago. Double it from 24 to 48 million.
Well, the government just spent $41 million last year advertising to get food stamps.
I didn't even know what a debit card was regarding people that didn't have anything until I realized that they're giving people debit cards to go in the store and buy anything. Women can buy fur coats if they want to with those debit cards. Nobody asks any questions. So we've got a multi-trillion-dollar monster waiting to eat us up. Something's going to have to give because there's going to have to be not a revolution, because you're not going to have a revolution in this country, but something in the future is going to have to come up and say, this thing is getting so out of hand, we're going to have to make a massive change.
Austerity on steroids?
Worse than steroids, and austerity that will, you know what?
And I hate to butt in, and this figure doesn't even take into account of the immigration plan. It doesn't take into account Obamacare. That's just the existing entitlements.
Look, when you have a community developer who has, we don't even know if he went to the schools that he said he went to. We forget about the birth of the thing. That's out of the question anyway, although I'm sure that he wasn't born in America. But
that doesn't matter.
What's the difference? It won't make any difference. The man knows nothing. He's a nobody that knows nothing. If I had a conversation with him, I'd say to him, what is the capital of Nigeria? He wouldn't know. You know, we used to kid about Bush, how dumb he was because he didn't really know very much. But at least the guy was honest in the fact that he didn't know very much. He was a pilot.
I mean, you got to have a little
Well,
bit
not
of
only
brains
that, he was also a nice human being. I mean, the one thing I'll say about George W. Bush, from people that know him and some that know him intimately, he was a very nice man. He got a big heart. He's a human being, not smart. That's the thing. I'll keep saying that. But this guy, I don't know what, he's got axes to grind. We're not
Yes.
we're not psychiatrists. I think there's a lot of anger in this man,
Yes.
and there's a lot of revenge in this man, and he does not care about the United States of America. He's about as unpatriotic as any president ever in the history of the United States.
It's not even close. It's not even close.
It's true.
We need to take a quick break before Maury gets in trouble, and we have the Secret Service waiting outside the studios. We'll return with more economic news, the global outlook, and history segments. They're all straight ahead. For more information about showtimes or channels, to email us with comments, just go to our website, theworldreport.org. We'll be right back.